Well, we should be.
Here we go.
Right, there we go. Happy.
Yep, another Thursday night here. Australian knife making spectacular. The podcast, the pubcast, knife making down under. How's everyone going, guys?
Yeah, good as gold.
Good.
Good as gold. I wonder if
Good.
if anyone's logging in. Yeah, here we go. We're starting to get some people tuning in.
We're starting to get a few people in. So we're just having a bit of a chat backstage, as we say, before we went live. G'day, Sam. And talking about how we're going to introduce our guest for the evening. And it's one of those things with the internet, with social media. We put up the post. We're interviewing a knife-making legend, lives in rural Australia, blah, blah, blah. And then there's the picture to the link that says Mal, Han, ... And people are putting up, is it Unky Keith? Is it Pierre? It's Mal Hannan, Otis Knives. Here he is. Look at the pictures, people.
You tricked him with the legend bit.
Yeah, that's well, you know, it's like having that drum roll. Brrr, ding, here's Mal.
And out will Mickey Mouse.
And for those,
Is that Keith Richards? Oh, that's nice.
Keith Richards, fuck.
Oh, dear. For those of us listening to the podcast and not looking at the live podcast version, you'll probably find out later that Corin is actually sitting next to Mal. And Corin and Mal, where are you guys located? Apart from the living room. Don't give me that sort of shit answer.
Not the kitchen.
That's the kitchen. Yeah,
That's the kitchen.
Deniliquin, New South.
Deniliquin, New South Wales. There you go. Middle of frickin' nowhere.
Yeah, or
yeah, it's actually, Mal just gave me directions. He said, get to the middle of nowhere, turn left and head out for 30 minutes. And that's pretty much where he is, actually. It was something like that anyway.
I'm pretty sure.
Turn left at the middle of nowhere and go another half hour. So.
I'm pretty sure that one of our listeners...
Just before you get to the inspection guy, right?
Oh, just before you get to what?
The border inspection.
The border inspection guy.
Yeah, the border inspection. We're not far from the border, actually. And we are coming in via satellite. So the internet here is satellite only. So if it's a little bit grainy or the audio is a little bit shite, you can blame someone in space. Or Mal, yeah. Like Mal.
Oh, fuck. Blame NBN, not me.
Yeah, it's not as bad as it was with Cole.
So, no. We've got 60 people on, so you can kick it off for us there, Kev.
Yep. So for those that have just tuned in, welcome to the Knife Making Down Under podcast, pubcast, the Thursday night usual. We have Corin from Gamaco, we have Mert from Tansu Knives, and myself from Kev's Forge. And we have our guest, Mal Hannan from Otis Knives. These guys, Mal and Corin, are actually sitting in the same room together in the kitchen because the party always happens in the kitchen. And I was just saying before, I think one of our listeners who was at my house today was saying that he actually grew up in Deniliquin. And that's Matt Snape.
Who was that?
Matt Snape.
You know?
Who?
Matt Snape. There you go.
Yeah, they used to have an automotive shop. His father did, I assume, or his grandfather.
I'm sure he's going to chime in.
A big town. So Matty's, I'm sure he'll be in. Yeah, Matty's on next week. We've lost Mert, but anyway, that's all right. If you lost him as well, or is that just...
No, it's just the picture.
Oh, no, there he is. He's lost his life.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he's looking as cute as ever. Look at the look. I don't know whether they're F me eyes or they're F off eyes.
Guilty of charge. They met you only owned an automotive. Yes, that was us. Yeah, there you go. You do know him.
RPM automotive.
Yep.
Oh, Monaro down there.
Yeah, really. So there you go.
Still had the Monaro.
It's a small world, but Deniliquin's even smaller, apparently. No, yeah, Mel's been using the services of family for years. There you go.
Very good. So, Mel, did it take much coaxing from Corin to actually get you to agree to come onto our podcast, or was it just the fact that he was going to drive down and force you to be on there that sealed the deal?
Yeah, personally drive down an interview. I thought it was a bit of, I was impressed.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I didn't think it was that far, Kev. I thought it was just a turn right at Canberra, but apparently it's, like I said, turn left at the middle
just
of nowhere.
a little bit further.
Another 30 minutes.
Isn't that Canberra?
Yeah, something like that. So, yeah, right. 7 hours. 7 hours. And that's without stops.
That's all. Yeah, you don't stop, do you? That's good.
No, well,
so this would be Mal's.
Hey,
yeah, I was about to say this would be
came
Mal's
down with my brother and
second biggest highlight in. We're going to have a little bit of confusion here, guys, because we've got a slight delay, so we're going to over-talk each other. We'll probably get used to it, or we won't. But I was just about to say this must be Mal's second biggest highlight in knife making since he met me at one of the shows.
Sitting next to you at the Adelaide Knife Show was an absolute thrill.
Yeah. I can tell. It changed you forever.
Yeah.
For good or for bad?
Well,
obviously good. I'm still here.
Yeah, that's it. I have that effect on people. I've sat next to a few people at knife shows, which is probably why I choose to sit next to Mert now. He's used to me. But I've sat next to a few people on their first knife show experience. And I think by the end of 2 days, they've either really enjoyed it and want to come back, or they're looking at never coming back to a knife show again.
They usually go see Andrew saying that I never want to sit right next to that fucking club.
Yeah, I'll pay double not to sit next to Kev's Forge.
But when you and me be at the table right by side, there's like a little aura of fun, energy, and bullshitting happening.
Yeah, generally on the second day when things get quieter, that's when the funny stuff starts at knife shows, when Mert and I sit next to each other. It may be an insider trading thing when I book my tables directly with Andrew and say, just make sure I'm next to Mert or I'm not coming. Yeah, funny stuff.
To be for those that don't know Mel and Lee Hannan, Mel's been doing the show circuit in Australia for 20 years. Speaking for you there, but when was your first show, Mel?
20 years ago.
99, so it would have been about 2000.
2000. So
20 years ago.
20 years ago, he's been doing knife shows in Australia. And what shows do you normally do, Mel, so people can keep an eye out for you?
Melbourne, Adelaide. I went to Perth last year, but there I haven't managed to get to Sydney, Queensland. I was aiming for, but never got, obviously.
Yeah. So
COVID
thing, yeah. So, 20 years of doing knife shows, mainly Melbourne and Adelaide. And that's where you normally find Mel with his lovely wife, Lee. Under the brand Otis Knives.
Very good. So, Mel, you've been on the show tour. Stop it, you two. You've been on the show tour. You've been on the show tour for 20 years. When did you first start making knives?
I've dabbled in knives for probably 30 or more. Just scruffing around. I took a book out of the library when I was in secondary school, a tech school, and it was how to make custom knives by a bloke by the name of Boy. I still have the book.
Didn't return it.
Didn't
realize.
I was going to say,
anyway,
when you say you took the book, I was hoping you borrowed it temporarily, but obviously not.
Well, they thought I was too. But yeah, I've still got it. I do read it occasionally. It's a simplistic way of making knives, which was good. So I sort of dabbled around with them. Ever since then, I went to a guild show in '99, and they signed me up. I had a couple of knives there that I'd previously made, and a fellow by the name of Wayne Bennett was hugely helpful to me. He was good. Guided me through my first show and that sort of stuff, giving me a few pros and cons as to who was good with money and who was to steer away from. It's good.
That's invaluable advice, though, isn't it?
Well, it is. It's always handy to have an old fella there that would say, yeah, watch that bloke, don't take a check from him, or they're good for their money.
Ah, fuck.
Did you hear that? You heard it first. The smashing success of knife making down on the podcast.
Hello.
He's back.
Did you spill your beer, mate?
No, I didn't realize that the cable was tied. There was a cable that was tied in a fucking piece of steel, and I tried to kick the cable, and then it just pulled some shit down. And yeah, don't ask, man. Don't ask. I kept it very professional, though, right?
It's all right, mate.
Yeah.
You're doing your
We're
best,
good.
mate. It's all good. Yeah, we can't ask for any more than that, mate.
So
So
you
yeah,
borrowed
tell
a
us
book.
about.
Well, I was going to say you borrowed a book permanently that had to do with basic knife making, but anyone that's been to, I guess, one of the more recent shows, because we've got a lot of newer makers listening to the thing at the moment, would probably see that your knives are pretty much anything other than basic. Describe, I guess, if you could describe to the listeners the style of knives that you do and maybe the other embellishments that you have with your knives.
Kev, I can try and pull this up on Instagram, and I will try. All right.
I don't think your computer screen's going to look any good, though.
Okay, don't worry about it. Keep going. So, guys, while we do this, go to his Instagram, which is Otis Knives.
Otis Knives.
Otis Knives on Instagram, and you can flick through it.
Yeah, now I make all styles of knives. I make anything from a kitchen knife, which I was making 20 years ago when they weren't really popular, up to daggers, art knives, anything in between. I do my own engraving these days.
I've been doing some engraving today, Kev.
Yeah, you had a crack.
Yeah, a crack describes it well.
How does your engraving compare to Mert's engraving that he did up with Andrew Blomfield?
I think Mert stuck at it a bit longer.
The line, yeah, I gave up after a couple of lines. Bit of a scroll, some jagged edges, a bit of a gouge.
The gouge was actually quite nice.
You did kind of compliment me on my gouge, but I don't think...
It was smooth going in and smooth coming out. It was good.
There you go, Kev. I'm a natural. Did you hear that? Coming from the master.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe you'll have a knife you'll have a barrel knife that has your own engraving in 2035.
Oh. Yeah.
I think we're a fair way off that. 2035. Nice. I see what you did there.
Yeah, that's only
Cheers,
15
guys.
years, Mert. That's only 15 knives away.
Yeah.
No,
So,
Jamie, we haven't got to we haven't got to the sheep stories yet.
Oh, fuck, you're starting again. What sheep stories?
Yeah. No,
All right, let's get into that for a second then. Mert's just led away with that. What sheep stories? Mal, you have a bit of a reputation, or Lee has a bit of a reputation for being rather kind to the little lamikins.
Yeah, we've got a heap of them.
How many pets?
How many sheep are on the property? Let's not talk about pets for
560 or so.
560 sheep on the property at the moment. And basically these days they're all woolies, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, for those that listen, if you ever go to a knife show, you've got to meet Lee. She's got a heart of gold, and she just, every time there's a sick sheep on the property, she nurses that bugger back to health. And once she's nursed it back to health, it becomes a pet sheep.
Yep.
So there's a house paddock here. My kids have been here feeding the pet sheep. There's be 50 odd sheep in there now.
42.
42. There you go. Not quite that.
42 cats.
The
And
answer.
we've got a bit of a hospital run happening at the moment. We've got some ewes and lambs in there. There's about 5 ewes and 6 lambs. A couple of them need a bit of a bottle feed, which we're doing 4 times a day at the present.
Shit.
So my kids have been in on that, and they got one.
I think through COVID, I've had about 4 bottle feeds during the day too. Cheers to that.
And he's got they've got a weather in there that's got a walking problem, and he's been in there for 3 months, and they're working through with him, getting him. Honestly, if you ever come back as in another life as a sheep, come to this place. I'm telling you, it's where magic
don't want to go to
cat.
You don't want to go to John Worthington.
Cat, dog, goat, whatever.
No, it's grouse. It's really, really good. So plenty of sheep here. But Mal, tell us about your childhood. How did you sort of get into knife making? What was your first knife? What was the first knife you remember owning?
First knife I owned was a lockback switchblade. So it wasn't actually didn't work as a switchblade, but it was one of those replica ones that looked like one of those that teams still has. Lock back without the mechanism in it.
Hey.
I got that when I was about 10, I think.
Nice. It's about the right age. Good. And when would you get your first decent cut?
Oh, when I was about 5, I think.
Yeah, right. So, and you grew up around Denny?
No, I grew up in Horsham, in Victoria. Moved up to Denny in about 1978. Horsham was a nice spot.
Yeah, I've done back in, well, sort of 2000, between 2000 and 2010, a lot of rock climbing and a few trips out to Mount Arapiles, which is not far from Horsham.
Yeah.
We've gone in back into town. Oh yeah, it was unreal out there. You ever do any of that yourself?
No, right. It's a step drop, so it goes like that out of the ground. It's a 1,000-foot drop.
Oh, really?
Straight down.
You drive.
Anyone mad enough to go over the edge of that?
Yeah, on the way there, you're driving along and it's just flat plains, and then all of a sudden, this just fucking enormous rock face appears out of the middle of nowhere, and yeah, it's unbelievable out that way. Beautiful land. Like I really enjoyed my time out there with the rock climbing, but it was just an amazing landscape in that particular area as well.
You come to Denny.
Yeah. So just for the benefit of everybody listening on the podcast, I've just got to fill you in on this. I only just pressed record, and the podcast has been going for some X number of minutes. 18 minutes. So if you want to catch it, you're going to have to get onto YouTube or get onto the Knife Making Downloader group and listen to the first part of the podcast. We're talking to Mal Hannan. We're coming in via satellite from Deniliquin, which is in rural New South Wales. And, here we are with Kevin Mert, as always. So sorry about that, but you can actually see it. We have the backup recording, which is, as I said, on YouTube and on our podcast group. See, that's why we got this backup, Kev. You like how we did that?
I know. I love it. We're always testing things. We're testing our technology,
Nice.
backup of technology, testing our listeners' patience. All of the above.
So yeah.
So Mel, what was the first knife that you made by yourself?
Would have been a hunter type thing.
Yeah.
Out of an old shaft cutter blade.
Right.
If you know.
What did you had? What did you?
I know what a mower is. It's like a mower blade.
Yeah, no, they're thin and high carbon steel. You sharpen. You have to sharpen every day to cut your chaff, straw.
There you go.
I made it out of that.
How long?
Very agricultural.
How long did it you take to make that? And what did you have in your shop back then?
It would have been a bench grinder, which I would have done very carefully. Yeah, and just sort of belted it together with a couple of rivets on the handle.
Having any trouble drilling it?
Well, I had a couple of holes in it already.
Oh, yeah,
If
right.
I carefully manoeuvred around it,
Cheat,
I could
cheat.
get away with it.
Or as we say these days, resourceful.
So these days you're still making basically utility type knives, like working knives. They're your kitchen knives, hunting knives. They're knives that are designed to be used. You do a few art knives and things, but generally that's what you're known for.
Yeah.
Under the brand, and you look him up going back for years in all the old knife magazines and everything. Otis Knives, been around as he said, been making for 30 years. Joined the guild in '99 and first show in 2000. So, yeah.
I like
The
making
first
daggers.
show. The first show that I met you now, where we were sitting very close together or next to each other. Most people, I guess, if you haven't been to a knife show, you get there and you set up, and then you get your first bit of time to run around and look at everyone's tables and, maybe introduce yourself to those people you haven't met yet, or just say g'day and nod, which most of us do. But I have to say, I don't think there's been a table that I've gone past, Mal, that has had that initial impact on me as much as your table with the variety of knives that you display on there. Because, like you said, you've got your basic sort of hunter knives, the ones I call your Rambo knives that have the serrated sort of stuff on the tops. You've got those very much the utilitarian user knives. And then on the next part of the table, you've got a fucking elaborate
with the
timber box with a fucking engraved silver polished fucking dagger and all this other intricate stuff. And you're like, what the fuck? Hang on, what? I remember the first time I looked at your table, it didn't make sense to me at first. I fucking had to do another lap of the floor and come around and see it. But that's what I was saying earlier about, I think we missed it in the first part of non-recording, about that style of your knives. You definitely don't have a style of knives. You get into pretty much freaking everything that's going.
Yeah, a style would be what I have a variety of knives. I had a couple of people give me some really good advice when I first started. Peter Del Rasso was one of them. He said it's always good to have a variety, because if you're not selling it to one particular buyer, you've got someone else that will come in and get something else. And I took that as being really nice. And the other one was David Brodziak, who always made really nice show type knife. And he said, you want to have a people stopper? And I said, well, what do you mean, like a dagger or something? And he said, no, just something that'll stop the people as they walk past. And then they'll look at something else on your table. Don't buy the $5,000 dagger that's been engraved by Phil Vinegar. But they might look at something else and go, oh, yeah, well, that's all right. But they've stopped.
Yeah.
And taken a second look.
That's actually really good advice. That's really good advice.
Yeah, especially when we've had our shows pre-silliness, and you're up against another 100 people selling knives at some of the bigger shows in Australia. That's definitely what you need, is that showstopper. And in Sydney a couple of years ago, I did a similar thing. I just made this ridiculous size cleaver. It was stupidly big, had a big handle, but it was nicely done. And that's, people walk past the table, they'd see that and stop, have a bit of a chat and a laugh to each other, and then actually coming over and have a look at your knives and see that the cleaver was just a standout thing, and then there were other nice knives on the table. Your stuff is obviously a little bit more elaborate than a dodgy big cleaver, where it's, got the ornately carved, intricately done stuff, but it has that same effect. It gets people to stop for that second or two, gives you the chance as a seller to say g'day and engage them, and then for them to come on board and start having a chat, which is a good thing. So
All of
one of
that.
the questions.
But
one of the
style-wise,
questions. Yeah, sorry, go.
yeah, style-wise, I wouldn't call that a style. That'd be style to me. And Mike Peterson, because he was the New South Wales rep when I did me build thing. He said, don't try and copy anybody else. Develop your own style so that when somebody picks up a knife without knowing that you're selling it, will recognise that knife. You know?
Yeah.
I like drop-pointed hunters and that sort of stuff, and I usually grind them in a style that I could pick it out of a room full of knives and say, I've built that if someone stacked them all up. And I thought that was good advice. He said, you know, a lot of people chase the market and like, oh, yeah, right at the minute, the Japanese cook's knives are all the go. So people will chase the market to try and cash in on it. He said, just do your own style of thing. And it's worked for me ever since.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah, Mert's just
So,
pulling
Jimmy,
the knife out there. Just...
Yeah, but he makes a really nice one.
Yeah, right.
Jimmy Barber was asking a question, which we were probably going to get to anyway, but it's nice to have the viewers ask it. But Jimmy Barber's question was, Mal, who was your early influence?
Early influence, Mike Peterson, obviously, one of them. Peter Del Rosa always had really good advice and always happy to give you the advice. Whether you took it or not's another thing. Maury McCarthy, probably people, I don't know whether people know of the old people that have done that sort of stuff.
Maury. Yeah.
Maury was a really knowledgeable fella. He did the high-end type stuff. He was good. I was always trying to beat Maury in an art knife award.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, that's it.
I did it.
Yeah, nice.
At an Adelaide knife show. Only once. I think he won every other
Yeah,
one.
he did. Yeah, in the end, he didn't put him in. He just didn't even.
But he did
He was
amazing
sitting there
stuff. And
he was sitting there with his run of 20 consecutive trophies and then one missing. Always cursing him out.
Clayton Penley asks, do you build your knives with Corby bolts or large pins? And are they engraved or mosaic pins?
I use I don't use straight pins unless they're on like a dovetail two-ended handle. Or we use straight little stainless things. Corby bolts, Loveless bolts. They being engraved depends on what else is on the knife.
So he does his own engraving. So yeah, he's very likely engraved anything that you might be looking at there on Instagram. I'm just assuming this guy's looking on Instagram. Carl, the engraving setup he's got is really nice. Kind of has its roots in the old tattoo system. You've got the foot pedal control and all that.
Yeah, it works for me.
Yeah, that's right. So
because I used to do a few tattoos, so it was easy to transition into it.
What kind of engraver do you have? Is it GRS?
A GRS.
Yeah.
GRS Graver Mac.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about getting it, but they're not cheap.
yeah, so am I now. So am I. Maybe there's a bulk buy in the future.
Bulk buy.
I tried to
Bulk buy.
Did Andrew have the palm control on his?
What was that?
Did Andrew have the palm control on his mat? Or was it a foot control?
Andrew had two kinds. He had the palm control and he had the foot control. He uses the foot control. He let me try both. Initially, I felt good with the palm foot control. Then when I tried the palm control, it was easier to draw straight lines. But then I realized palm control is a bit more limited because your hand is doing too many things, I realized, especially when you're doing the curves and things like that. So I just went back to foot control.
Right.
It's not unlike Andrew to have both kinds, by the way. That's the way Andrew rolls. He's got everything twice. Yeah.
He does. He does.
So Mert was asking about your engraving. I thought he was actually going to ask about your tattooing, which is, what did you do? Is that just a hobby or what? I might have to come visit, mate. Cashy.
Yeah, no, I did it for a number of years as an alternative to cutting firewood, or an extra. You know, I got paid a bit for it.
Yeah, what do you do? Well, at fine lines or shading or what, mate? Come on.
I haven't done any for a fair while, Kev. You'd be a brave man to get under the needle.
I'll
Yeah.
watch. That's
We'll check out Corin's butt cheek later, and if you spelt mum right, then we'll go with that.
Well,
Tramp stamp.
in a thigh, Kev. In a thigh. Come on, man.
Yeah, in a thigh. Oh, that's painful just thinking about it. Tattooing sheep. Oh dear. We digress, mate. We digress. This happens quite a lot. What
I've got one from Jimmy Barber here. That's a good one.
Jimmy's already asked a question. Go for it.
What made you first want to make knives?
if the fella likes knives, he'd understand.
Yeah.
You just love things sharp and shiny.
That's it.
It's either in you or it's not. A lot of people don't understand why people like knives. They think you're a bit like a two-headed monster. Yeah, you just like knives. So the next step is after you like one, you think, I'd like to make one.
Yep.
That's how it works.
So
that's how I got into it.
Do you have a preferred?
Yeah,
that's it. Just like being at your place, Corin. Mal, do you have a preferred knife that you like to make? Because obviously you've got a wide and varied style or approach to knife making. Is there, like, do you sit down and go, yeah, I really enjoy making drop point hunters over daggers, or do you like daggers over drop point hunters, or is it just a case of make whatever?
That probably would depend on how many drop point hunters I've made just recently, and a change is always good.
True.
Change is good. Now, I love making drop pointed sub-hilt fighters. I really like making those.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah,
we don't see so
I
many.
saw a lot of
those
hunting
around
knives
these
on
days.
the webpage.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Awkward.
hunting knives. He does do a lot of them still.
Yeah.
That's kind of your more, like I said, all that utility style stuff. He's looking at your Instagram.
No, that's good.
All right, yeah. Tactical stuff.
What's your
reasonably popular?
What's your most used or your most favoured piece of equipment in your workshop, mate?
Would be a grinder.
And what grinder do you have?
Currently, I've just bought a new one of the 8.4 engineering Gibson ones.
Gibson 72.
Karen's been helping me tweak it.
Yeah,
right.
Tweaking it today, setting up big wheels on it.
Yeah, tweaking it
surface
today.
grinders and things.
Tweaking it today and barrel knives tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I'm getting onto it eventually. It's the one true knife making thing.
Oh,
yeah, no, we've had a bit of fun there. Mal's it all sort of started. We'd all sort of started a few weeks ago when Mal got on the phone to me and said we sent him a hardness tester, which Cole'd been working on with him, and it was ex-demo one, and the guys packed it up as best they could, I think, and sent it down. But in transit, it knocked the front dial came off with all of the scale and everything, and so I've been working. I had to basically disassemble my own one and do a shot by frame rebuild sequence tutorial on how to put it back together for him. So we did that and he got it all back together. But in the process, he said, "Oh, you should come down and stay sometime." So, well, that was a couple of weeks ago, and here I am, really.
Yeah, you were a bit stressed at the time.
I was stressing out at the time. Yeah, I said to Mal, "So long as the phone doesn't work at the front gate," he said, "No, that's fine, you'll be fine." He said, "You can turn it off if it does, so turn it off the front gate." So we're camping down.
I was going to say, you might have Mert and I down there before too long.
Yeah,
just be on Optus. Apparently it doesn't work down here.
Yeah, Optus is good. Doesn't work at all down here.
Doesn't matter, mate. I know how to turn this bloody thing off.
I'm down in the back paddock with the family. Got my brother here and my sons and daughter, and yeah, it's pretty good, eh? Pretty good.
Yeah, nice.
We're fishing. I'm up to. We've got 8 fish today so far, so that, including a Murray cod. So that's pretty cool.
You what?
Yeah, Murray cod, silver perch, carp. Yeah,
Murray cod is nice.
Carp. I'm only aiming for carp. Yeah, yeah. I'm only shooting for carp, but I'm catching all sorts of things as well. So it's good.
He is putting the cod back for those people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We're out of cod
season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can picture Corin even during cod season catching a cod and going, what's this fucking thing, and throwing it back in the water and going, I just want a carp to smoke and eat. You know, and everyone else is like, that's like the mecca of fishing, you bastard, and you've just thrown it back. Funny stuff.
It's only a cod, mate. Just a big mouth fish. Carp is awesome. Corin, I'll drink to that, says Jamie. And Matt Snape says, speaking of 84 Engineering, shout out to Ewan with thanks for his hospitality today when he dropped in. Very busy place. You're wasting my boy's time. He's got to get grinders built. Matt, you go there.
Well, Matt popped past my place today, and then I had an appointment to go to this afternoon, so I had to boot him out at about 11 o'clock today. And Matt had travelled, down into town from Goulburn, I think it was, and he was like, "Oh well, I've got the day. It's only an hour to Cooma," so he shot Yui off a message, and yeah, off he went, 1 hour further south.
So
all these people.
The other thing that's interesting about our shop we visited is the workshop company. You want to tell us about your workshop company?
We've taken on board a couple of goats called Honey and Veggie, and they tend to come along and help me do my grinding and my hand sanding and generally fill in the day. Climbing over benches and knocking things over and all sorts of stuff.
Literally in the shed, walking around with him. And
so you're not like doing yoga or something, are you?
No, goats, as in goats.
Four-legged little...
Yeah, people do goat yoga. Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know about that.
Show us, Kev.
Yeah.
Hang on. Here we go.
Oh, no.
We'll have to go for the wide lens.
Oh, yeah. This isn't going to go.
Here we go. Go yoga. Downward facing go.
For the benefit of the podcast, Kev is manipulating a small monkey into weird positions.
It was a goat.
Oh, Kaya, for fuck's sake. Can you guys hear my dog? He's barking his fucking head off.
Yeah, fucking anyone can hear. I can hear your dog from here with the headphones off, mate. There's a goat. There we go. Kev's got a goat.
There he is.
Where'd Bert go? We lost him.
Just shut his dog up.
The cool thing about these goats, Kev, if you come into Mal's yard uninvited, they'll destroy your car.
Oh, really?
I've given away one of his security tips. Oh, shit, yeah.
You don't get out with some panel damage and work the Snape motors.
No, absolutely, mate. Jump on your roof.
Yeah, right.
They're attack
goats. Are funny critters. Goats are funny critters. They're a lot more solid than most people anticipate. They can be a little intimidating.
Well, these are only little goats.
Oh, yeah, do they wear pajamas?
Eh?
Not that I know of.
Oh, fair enough then.
Don't know where he was going with that one.
No, me neither. That's okay.
You go onto Google and just Google goats, baby goats in pajamas. It's a funny thing to see.
Hey, I know now, Kev. I've seen them on the Facebook thing.
Yeah. That's pay-per-view.
They're everywhere in the jam.
Oh dear.
So there you go. So, this lag's a bit bad. It's hard to.
Yeah, the lag is a little bit bad. We tend to be talking over each other. Bear with us. Like I said, we've got Mal in Deniliquin. rural New South Wales via satellite. Very happy to have you on board. Mal, can you give the virtual tour of your workshop? We know recently we saw, or some of us recently saw, the unloading of the pallet of gear from your delivery. If you can give the listeners a quick run through of the, I guess, what, equipment that you have there to do what you do.
Well, I now have a couple of grinders and a couple of heat treaters. One I probably don't need at the minute, but hardness tester, couple of drills, sandblasting unit, and to be honest, there's not much else.
There's a fact. It's a good knife shop, but it's a farm shop as well, so it's dual use.
Yeah.
So that probably leads into another question.
Knife making stuff.
Yeah, that probably leads into another question, which is, are you a forger, or you do stock removal, or a bit of both?
Oh, I should turn it around. No, basically a stock removalist.
Yeah, nice.
And the steels that you like to work with?
440C, Sandvik. I like the Sandvik. I like the 440C. D2, just the basic old steels, but they work really nice. They make really nice knives. Good hard working knives.
No, you can't go wrong with them. You can't go wrong.
No.
Yeah.
To get the full use out of some of those 30Vs and all that, you really need to have a cryogenic quencher, or you're wasting your time. So, I haven't got that equipment, so there's no point really having it.
Yeah, you're talking about getting an extra 2% or something on what you're doing anyway. So,
yeah,
how relevant is it? Glyn Potter asks, "What's your original grinder?" Which is it's a nice piece of history. I saw that today. It's a lovely grinder. You want to talk about that?
Hardy Wangerman.
Yeah.
There was a knife maker down in Ballarat by the name of Hardy Wangerman. He was a tool maker by trade. Used to make a lot of grinders, mainly bench-mounted ones, but he made the odd couple of freestanders, and I bought one of his years ago. And it's a nice bit of gear. I'm not going to sell it. It's a good piece of equipment.
Well engineered. For those that have been around for a while, everyone will know Hardy Wangerman because he was making grinders in Australia, 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. He was the man.
Yeah.
So.
Cast his own wheels and all sorts of stuff. He was built them to the grinder. He was good, and he made a nice knife.
Yeah, right.
I was going to say, it sounds like an early iteration of 84 engineering.
Yeah, he sold direct to the knife making community. He came from a engineering background. He was a toolmaker, I think you said, didn't you?
Yeah, toolmaker by trade.
Toolmaker by trade. And a lot of the older guys have his gear, including Mal and Keith Flutter, and there's heaps of them around. That
Ali Bastian said he said he's got a freestanding one. He only made a couple freestanders, but I had greasable bearings in it. I've never changed one of the main bearings on it. I've changed two of the little ones, but done a couple of the small wheels.
So you can pump grease in them?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll fill cool. Block bearings.
Yeah.
Never wear out.
Yeah.
Good.
That's frozen.
No, he's just chipping along.
Yeah.
Do you make? Do you make folding knives?
Yeah. Occasionally I can get talked into making them.
Not something that you really like doing then?
Yeah, I'd fancy to make some slip joint knives, but I'd probably be looking to go and talk to some or do a course with Bruce Barnett is what I'd be aiming for to probably my time span in this world's running shorter, so I don't need to spend 10 years trying to work it out.
No, that's
go and learn off a master.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing when we talk about the COVID and all the lockdowns of the borders and stuff. I think when they finally open up, there's going to be a large swathe of East Coasters heading over to WA, particularly Bruce Barnett's place to do slip joint boulder classes.
Yeah.
Add me to the list, yeah.
So,
I just got to get
So
the
Mel-
time, but yeah.
Well, you got to put it
Well-
into perspective that the people that are making knives these days and starting out, because I
Yeah.
look at some of the guild requirements of what you've got to build in a knife. I've got the knife that got me into the guild over in the shed. I bought it back off the bloke that I sold it
Oh,
to.
really? Yeah.
Yeah. And look at that, and you'd think these days you wouldn't get admitted into the guild. But 20 years ago, you didn't have YouTube to watch. You
Yeah.
didn't have any of that stuff. The things are totally different these days to what they were 20 years ago.
The level's come right up. The level has come up a long way in the last few years.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
It's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But that's not for me to query on. But if, looking at the knife that I've got over in the shed, I wouldn't get into the guild.
Well, can't comment, but I'll have a look tomorrow.
Yeah. I was looking at it this
Take a
afternoon.
photo, send us a photo.
You won't.
So, and back then, Peterson was a state rep.
Yeah.
Like in, was he still? Was he,
Candela.
he was down at Candela.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Candela.
remember. I don't know whether other people could drive to his house, but I had to pull up at a gate and walk across down this valley and up the other side. And there's a great big hound of the Baskerville down and down bay and carrying on as I was going down. Scared the crap out of him. But anyway, had a look at his stuff where he made his own metal and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, he was an amazing bloke. Or it still is an amazing bloke. Not was, is.
So Mel, you just said that you got yourself a nice hardness tester. So what's your next purchase, or if you want to buy something for your knife making shop, what will be the next big purchase for you?
Well, I've got no idea, man. To be honest, I'm reckon I'm pretty right.
He just bought a Paragon kiln, a Gibson 72,
72.
Pro kiln, and a hardness tester. So these, give him a little bit of time to think about what he's missing.
He just has to spend 5
Probably
minutes.
some
with you.
attachment.
You'll be talking about all the shit that you bought within last month, your die filer, your press, and all that.
Oh, die filer. He needs a die filer.
Yeah.
I'll sort him out. Don't worry.
Yeah. That's like the devil sitting on your shoulder right next to you right now.
That's all right.
That's all right. You go, that's all right. I've sat next to Kevin and I've shown.
No, he's got it's a good shop for what he does. It does everything you need, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah.
So, and has done for a long time. Yeah, not many shops have got a shearing shed tagged onto the back of it, but that's good too. I mean, Ali Bastion's is a shearing shed, but yeah.
I walked into some sheds more basic than mine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And smaller too, actually.
Wally Bidgood wouldn't even fill the size of his kitchen.
Really?
Mm.
So Wally Bidgood, for those people that wouldn't know him and maybe new in the scene or whatever, but Wally was a founding member of the guild, and he's sort of stopped doing the show circuit now. Him and his wife Brenda live down Ballarat or Bendigo. Casterton. There you go. And he's just a staple of the hunting knife world, and he does a few folders as well. But the guys in the hunting community will know him. He's just been around for, I'm going to say forever, you know. Yeah.
D2 Hunters, he's made them for years and years. Spot on, immaculate little knives.
Yeah, does a very good job. So Bidgood's a big name in the hunting knife community.
Yes.
And works out of a tiny shed.
Yeah.
Jimmy Barber's looking at your Instagram. He says your recurves look sensational. What was the reason you got into them? The challenge, market, functionality?
Because I like making them. I like it. I like the look of them.
Why not?
Heard it here first, guys.
Yeah. That's sometimes a really overlooked answer to those sorts of questions. Why did you do this? Because I like it. Like it is though. It's like people ask me, why do you do drop point hunters? Or why do you do the skinners? Because I like them. I reckon they look cool. That's it. No more, no less, really.
No. So
being in a sort of, I guess, rural area, what challenges are you faced with as a knife maker now? Like, do you have any particular issues with sourcing goods or the like, or distance to other makers? I guess, is that an issue?
Well, it would be. There's no other makers around here. It hasn't been for the last 20 years. So, yeah, never got a lot of feedback from other people. It was sort of a work it out yourself. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. Always free, and as being a member of the guild, if you had a problem, I rang Peter Del Rasso on occasions. I rang other people on occasions when I was starting out, as to get advice, all that sort of stuff. And they're always happy to give it. But yeah, it's only as close as a phone call. I've never been into anybody's shop and actually sat there for a day and ground knives with them or anything like that.
Really?
Look.
Come on. When do you want to do it? But it's hard for you as well, because you can't really just drop the farm, can you?
No, I'll pick up and go.
Yeah, it's sort of a different. You can't just say, it's my annual leave today. That's what I said to him. We'll come down on the long weekend. He said, they're all just days here. You've got to give me a date.
I was out on the long weekend. Yeah, I was out on the long weekend. My wife was home, and we went off and did a few things, and we just went down to Bunnings to get a few more gas cylinders. Now I've got the new dual inline cylinder operation on my forge, and I paid for 3 new cylinders. And the guy was like, "Oh, we're running low because it's a public holiday," and I just looked at him and went, "I'm self-employed. I don't understand public holidays anymore. Every day is just a day." And I don't own a farm with 500 head of sheep on it.
No. Bobby says he's probably the closest. He's only 45 minutes away.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby Smith is, and he makes a nice knife, and he does them all pretty much, as far as I understand. He still uses only a file. Bobby will comment and let us know, but he only uses files, and he's been doing them like that for years.
Where's Bobby Smith?
Where are you, Bobby? Give us a town, mate, and we'll have a look at that. Matt says, what's your main driver in selection of handle material? Just a minute. Sorry. For a specific knife. And where does pure aesthetics fit in? What's your main handle material that you normally use?
I like wood, and I like black linen micarta. If they're looking at me Instagram site, they'll see a lot of black linen micarta because I really like it. It's good on a hunting knife, good on a kitchen knife. It's good on just about everything because it's nice and grippy. However, you can't smash it off with a hammer. It's good stuff, and I like wood.
Yeah, and you cut a fair bit of it too. So I'm walking around in the paddocks, mate, and there's burls here just sitting there, just seasoning in the paddocks. I won't tell you, it's pretty special though. Big piles of burls. So
protected by goats.
Brad Stone. Yeah, look out. Brad Stone says, is that a russer head on the back wall?
It is.
There you go.
And I do like deer antler as well. But and in particular, that rooster's still lucky to be there. I do like rooster deer antler. If he's got any.
And Bobby Smith is in Katanga.
Katanga.
There you go.
So that's Shepparton, mate, isn't it?
Oh, no. You live here.
Not in Victoria.
Oh, right. Fair enough.
Can you cross the
other side of the border?
No point, mate. Yeah. See you later. He's just said that down the bottom.
45 minutes is only just the other side of Denny.
So, yeah, Phil Bilkey says, hey, Mal, are you self-taught with your engraving?
Not entirely. a fella that used to do my engraving for me. Was all hammer and chisel, and he was by the name of Phil Vinegar. He gave me a few pointers and steps and showed me how to build told me how to build a hammer and chisel engraver, which I did. I cut a $2 tack hammer off. I went to the $2 shop and got a tack hammer. That's all it's there. Cut the end of it off, cut the hammer bit off, and found the biggest valve face I could find, welded it on, and then stuck the handle back on and ground it down. I started using that as a hammer and chisel. Bought some GRS stuff, because the hammer and chisel was too slow. And then I did do a course up in Queensland with and Jeremiah White came out from America for GRS, and I did a week with him.
Yeah, nice. Awkward silence.
We're waiting for. It's just waiting for the bloody lag, mate.
I know.
I don't want to say anything in case you
lag.
start something.
Over talking each other.
Brad Stone,
technology is a wonderful thing.
read some of these. Brad Stone says, Sambar and fellow. Sorry, mate. Trent Looney says he's in Moama. Where's that?
Just the other side of this side of the border.
But he doesn't make knives yet.
Right.
There you go. Yeah, Bobby's still using files. And he's just over the river from Tockamore.
Yeah.
You know what he's saying.
That's not 45 minutes away, mate.
Oh, well, from Denny or from here? Because you're another half hour past Denny, so.
Yeah. Tockamore, 75 k's from Denny.
Oh, it could be done.
Could be in 45, yeah, down the Lower Toke Road. No, yeah, it's not that far away. Yeah, but we're half an hour out, easily.
So, yeah, there we go. Where are we at? So,
when we have show season up and running, Mal, when we have show season up and running, what's like your typical lead up? Do you plan for a show and say, I'm going to have, or I would like to have, say, 10 knives, a variety of different styles, or do you just look at your shelf, grab what's ready, and then hit the road?
I will have what's in my box that I've been making as stock, and then, yeah, I just make knives flat out, whatever style I choose to do at that particular point. If I think I've got too many hunting knives in my box, well, then I'll make some kitchen knives or something a bit fancier. Depends on how much time I've got.
Nice.
Some of those knives for me, like on the Instagram site there'll be a sub-hilt fighter with the engraving all over it. That'd take me, over the course of a couple of months to get it finished. It's not a quick process when you're working a couple of other jobs to pay the bills.
what's the knife you carry most? What's the knife that you carry with you when you're working and around the farm? What's the thing that, the first go-to?
Is a Leatherman.
After the Leatherman. That's sitting on the front of the bike.
I've carried that for years, and as I've been working in the bush, it's good for lopping off limbs and sticks that get in your road and trees and all sorts of stuff.
The parang. Yeah, it's a nice one too. Sharp as.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
Andrew Smith says, what knives did Corin take camping? Yeah, that's one for me.
Yeah. Your barrel knife, I've seen that.
Yeah, I've got my barrel knife. I've probably got your barrel knife just down here, Andrew, by the way. Just got it back from engraving. Just remind me about that later. I've got a Mora companion, Helen 9, and Swiss Army knife. And
you feel it.
I've got my de Klerk filleting knife, custom filleting knife, which is down there, which is a nice one. Yeah, I've probably got too many knives, but anyway, that's all right. I'm camping and I like knives, so that's what we do. And fishing, camping and fishing.
is there such a thing as too many knives?
Nope.
No.
That's
So Mal's, what's Mal's? Just a sec. Pointy HK says, what's Mal's Instagram account name? Oh yeah, no, it's just to fill you in for those that have just joined us. It's Mal Hannan from Otis Knives, and you'll find him as Otis Knives, OTIS, Otis Knives on Instagram. And you'll be able to check out what he does there.
Mal, in terms of the knife making that you've been doing and lots of the variety, is there, I guess, in your mind, is there a holy grail that you want to achieve? Is there a particular knife style or an element to a knife or a product or handle material, for example, that you want to incorporate? What would be your ultimate knife to create?
Oh, that'd be a question. I am working on one at the present that I haven't been able to get at because I've got a few orders and stuff to fill. But I've got a round bar of dense twist Damascus that I've got Bruce to make me, Bruce Barnett, and I've got a special job for it.
Oh, nice. Secret squirrel.
Special
So
job.
you have
to follow his Instagram if you want to see it.
Get on.
What's this space?
Everyone get on Otis Knives on Instagram. Follow it with bated breath because Mal's going to do something with a nice.
You might be waiting a while, but it's sitting there waiting.
Doesn't matter, mate. Doesn't matter how long you wait.
Yeah, it's about 10 inches long and then about an inch and a bit thick. So it'll be interesting.
The steel as it is,
Fair
or
enough.
the knife you're going to make? He might be
Something
wanting to make
liberal,
one
I'm
of Dom Pinkett's knives.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you seen Dom's work? You've seen Dom at Melbourne show, perhaps. Dom Binkett. He makes titanium wedges. What would you call them? A wedge?
Insane. They're like 2 kilos of
Was Dom at
solid
Perth?
titanium.
Yeah, Dom was at Perth. Dom had some at Perth.
Yeah. The sausage man was chopping up his sausages with him.
That's the guy. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, so I guess I'm shooting off probably back home tomorrow or the next day. But it's been a great staying here. They've got just a beaut property. Got some crops, got plenty of sheep, fishing. Mal doesn't fish, so he's just watching me, really.
Yeah.
He came here as a fisherman and he was going to fish every day, but it doesn't happen, does it?
It doesn't work when you live with it.
No.
Yeah, that's it. I went out to Anaconda on the weekend and bought some new fishing line because I reconnected with a mate of mine. We haven't caught up for about 18 months. And he's like, we need to go fishing. And I was just like, far out, man. I don't think I've wet a line since the last time we fished. So yeah, out to Anaconda, bought the line, and that's as far as I went. It's sitting on the table.
Nice. Yeah. I dug all my old shit out. It was good though. We've had a good time. Just fish after fish this morning. I really did well this morning. Nothing this afternoon, but yeah.
Changing the weather,
yeah. So what have you guys been up to? Mert, what's happening with you? How's your week been?
My week has been all right, man. I've done some big forging. I haven't had the forge going on because I had some electrical problems, but thank you to Sausage Man. He came in and he fucking fixed everything. So that was good. Now I'm back in forging. I did a stainless semi today. I'm working on a mosaic Damascus. I did an integral chef's knife out of like 100-something layers. I'll just make up. I'll tell the guy 146 layers because he doesn't listen to this podcast. It's okay. And I'm working on a Turkish twist Damascus, and I'm probably gonna. It's probably like a 70 centimeters now, and I'm gonna cut it into 10 centimeters each, and twist 4 and right, twist 3 to the left, and stack them up and do like a composite bar Turkish twist thingy. That's what I got going on.
Nice.
That sounds like a fairly high risk project. Good luck with it, mate.
She'll be right, mate.
And engrave something on it at the end of it.
She'll be right.
Yeah, chisel grind.
Yeah. I got my swords came in from the mail. I got a sword came in from the mail, and the shit part was wife was home. So it's like, is that the one that? She's like, is that the one that my cousin sent from the US? Like, no. Then I'm like, oh shit. If that's not the one that cousin sent, there must be another sword that I bought. So she noticed that. So I got in a little bit of trouble.
Does she listen to the podcast?
No, definitely not.
Oh, that old thing. Oh, I had that ages ago.
Yeah. Literally, that old thing. What are you guys up to? Yeah, what have you been up to other than that building that forge?
Well, not a lot other than building the forge, lining it, getting it all working, making sure it doesn't leak in any of the hoses. I had, like I said, Matt Snape came by this morning.
Leak, man.
Oh yeah, they always
Those
leak.
will always leak.
Yeah. So Matt Snape came by this morning, and I put up a little clip on my Instagram earlier. We cranked it up to 30 psi, and it was like the fucking looking into the sun. This thing is going to get fucking hot. No brick. The other day I had it at 20 psi with no brick in the front, and it was up at 1150 degrees. So at 30 psi, if I put a brick in front, I've got a funny feeling I'm going to have to watch that I don't melt the steel when I come to doing some Damascus in it. That's the safety sake. And I start back teaching this weekend, so I've just been tidying up a few things, sorting out my order list, which has unfortunately taken it took a backward step with my back being rooted. So I've reorganized everything that I need to do. And would you believe, I might get in some shit when I say this, but I mopped the floor of my workshop yesterday.
You mopped it?
I mopped it.
What the hell's going on there?
I rediscovered the colour of the floor of my workshop. This is the shit that goes on.
It's going to go rust colour.
No, it was rust colour. Nah, like the concrete paint that was in my workshop was that grey driveway paint stuff. And when I loaded up the bucket with that bloody, the ad where they sprinkle the shit on your wash and throw it in there for 30 minutes, whatever it was, the stain remover, I put that on there, and rediscovered the colour of my flooring. It's grey.
Just excuse me for a second. The flashing blue and red light out there like a police light. It's a box light.
Do you do drugs?
Shut up. Sorry, it's like a police car.
They were looking for you.
What's
That's
a
why
box
you
light?
ran away, Corn. They were looking for you.
Oh, really? They think it's the cops and they run. Is that how it works?
That's really good.
Flashes.
Yeah.
It's for the sheep as well in the paddock, so it's all over the farm.
Yeah.
It keeps the foxes think it's a person with a torch.
Oh, I thought it was the cops, but it's all right.
There's blue and there's white lights, and they flash randomly and blink and shoot a bit. Yeah.
Well, there you go. We'll learn something new. Sorry, guys. Sorry for the distraction. It was just a learning, educational moment. I'm looking out the window into pitch black night, and there's a cop car driving through the bush, but apparently it's a fox light for scaring away foxes. Yeah,
Well, do you have a lot
says Corin.
Do you have a lot of wild dogs and foxes?
No, Pierre, just a second. Pierre, I didn't nearly run at that. Last night when I was sound checking to make sure we could get enough internet speed to do this tonight, and I looked down and seen a black snake between my feet, then I did nearly run. But this was just something else. So just putting it out there. The mouse, fucking snakes in the house. And they've got everything in this place. I'm telling you, man, it's fucking scary. Anyway, where were we?
I think it's just a coincidence, Warren. I think it's just a coincidence with the timing because I did put a phone call into both VicPol and New South Wales Police saying that you were crossing the border tonight.
Oh, really? They're waiting for me?
Yeah, either side.
Well, your payback didn't pay off, Kev.
No, I know. You bastard. I'll get you back one day, don't you worry.
Yeah. Well, it'll happen. Yeah, so what else is news, Kev? What's happening on social media, guys? I've been off it for a week and it's doing me wonders. I've got about 1,000 missed messages on Facebook. So all those people looking at this wondering why I haven't responded, it's because where I am, I don't have reception. They have reception, satellite internet here at the house, but in the bush, it's not so much. Zilch, yeah. In fact, my brother's son spent the last 4 or 5 days going through cold turkey on not having Wi-Fi. He's hating it. No Wi-Fi. Checks the phone every 5 minutes to see if magically something comes on, but nothing. It's killing him. He can't play any of his little games or anything. He had to throw rocks and he's sharpened a stick with his penknife and he's caught some fish and he's had to do all these terrible things because he doesn't have Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like a dream. That sounds like a dream.
Thanks.
So I need to say,
no, it's good actually.
I need to say to Julianne, no, hell did not freeze over when I mopped my shop floor. It was a pretty cold day regardless. Jamie Bishop has just said on one of his comments just up from Owen Ward's there that he only needs a tidy wipe and that a mop is quite excessive. We're talking about the floor, Jamie. We're talking about the floor.
Trying to find it.
And when Matt came by my workshop, I had to point out to him that I'd mopped my floor because I was quite proud of it, actually. Like, I've built a new setup for the forges to sit on. It's clean. It's not going to be this way again now for the next 12 months. I can guarantee you that. And Owen's just come in saying that he'd lose his balls if he didn't do that to his polished concrete. He's just being smart because he's got polished concrete.
Owen, have you seen? If you're not following the Australian Knife Makers Guild pages, get on there and follow it because in a few days, Owen Ward's going to come up there and a bit of an introduction about who he is. And I've got to tell you, you're going to be impressed, man. That he's got a mint hobby other than knife making. So yeah, stay tuned for that one.
Oh, might have to hit him up.
That workshop is pretty special.
Might have to hit him up on personal messages and see what that's all about.
That one's coming up. Don't worry about it.
Not worried about it.
Apparently,
not worried about it
bench space as well.
Yeah,
a lot more bench space.
That's what happens when you're not doing shit in there, and all you can do is clean. Light duties are bad because you end up cleaning shit, making more space, and then realizing how bad you were in your organization of your workshop and how easy it is to put things in a certain spot. Then that spot becomes the permanent spot for those things. And then the next spot gets filled by other things, which is the permanent spot for those things. And you move on and on and on. This is going to sound really bad to the listeners, and people strike me down if you don't believe me. But I actually moved a milk crate with at least maybe 10 or 15 hammers from my main workshop to the overflow garage because I don't use them. And they sat in that milk crate in my workshop for about 2 years because they were there. So now I'm not doing stuff. It's like, move them out of the way. Get them out of the way. Bad for you. Just keep doing shit. Don't stop. So, Mert, you had one of your knives. Yeah, you had one of your knives on there today, Mert. There was what was that one? That was the wrought iron and high carbon chef knife.
Which one was that, Ken?
It was a wrought iron. You had a wrought iron with a high carbon core, like 1.25 carbon core or something?
Is you talking about the one that was on the Blade magazine, or the one I?
No,
posted
one you're
long ago?
making. Current one that you're working on.
I got that's the wrought iron and the steel known as 125 SC.
That's the one.
1.25% carbon. Yep.
What's the tip for forging a wrought iron Sanmai blade?
As few heats as possible, and work hot.
Very hot.
So make sure, especially my initial welding is hot. I make sure like it's really, really hot. Like there's like smoke coming out of the borax melting. But once my welds are set, I kill one of my burners. So I got 2 burners in my forge. As soon as my initial weld is done, I kill the second burner off. And then I try to stretch it as soon as possible. So I'm trying to go with like 4 heats, maximum like 4 heats from a billet that's about 30 centimeters to a 2 centimeter to 10 centimeter long. I'm trying to get that to nice shape in 4 to 5 heats. My first heat is welding heat. Second heat, it will still weld. But after that, I'm dropping down like to 900 or 1,000 degrees at most. I'm not, and at the last heat, when I'm forging the bevels, I'm probably like 850 or 900 because temperature's dropping fast. And I leave once my weld is on, I leave the brick off, so my forge actually lose temperature. So I don't want to lose the carbon much.
Okay. So do you use any? You don't have anything as a barrier like pure nickel sheeting or anything between that 1.25 SC?
Look, I can do nickel, but I have a 1.25% carbon. If I use 0.05, bad. I got 1%, 1.2%.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm trying to keep it low. Like if I was doing a pattern welding steel that required like 20 welds, or mosaic that required like 16 different tiles and welds, then it becomes an issue. But I'm only welding once, and it's staying in the forge for a total of 10 minutes, not even that. So I'm not worried about it much.
Nice. Now, when you're
I'm
forging
still getting like 65 rock weld.
Yeah, right. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
How thick do you take it before you start to grind?
1 second, actually, before I start making up numbers and shit, I can just look at it with the calipers, so I don't bullshit. 1, 2, yeah. All right. I don't want to be bullshitting, so I got 1 wrought iron here, and I'm looking at fuck this out of battery, but I still can't read numbers. So at the right above the heel, it's 5 millimeters on the spine. That might sound a lot, but again, I'm not worried about this side. I'm more worried about how thick it's going to be right at the edge. So it's and towards the edge, it's 3 mil. 3 mil on the edge. I could have taken a bit down, but it's consistent 3 mil till it came to tip. Tip is 2.5. I'm looking at the other one I done, so making sure like this is not an anomaly. This one is again 5 mil. 2.9. Yeah. Apparently, I take it to 3 millimeters at the edge before heat treatment. So that might sound like thick, but again, as you guys know, wrought iron is not hard. So when you grind it, it just grinds like butter.
Oh yeah. So there was when we had that hammer in at your place, and we did some Sanmai there. I think we just used mild steel, and I have to admit that the mild Sanmai billet that I did at your joint, I've ruined because I didn't take into account how soft mild steel is when you grind it. It's just like zit. Oh shit.
Yeah, look, Sanmai. I do a knife course with the Sanmai. The best thing about Sambar is it grinds up easy, and the worst thing about Sambar is it also grinds easy.
Yeah.
Best thing about Sambar, if it bends, you can bend it back. But another bad thing about Sambar is that when you're grinding it, if you're not careful, you cannot get your way out of by, let me just grind it here, grind it there. You gotta flex it back so it's not, so you're not just like taking more material from one side to the other.
Yeah, nice. We just had a comment up
That's
from
an even
Francois
one,
Mazier.
Yep.
We just had the comment up from Francois Mazier's on the thing from the old telegraph station in Alice Springs. Just finished forging for the Garn train guess. That's pretty impressive. We've seen like he's probably the most centralised forge or knife maker in Australia at the moment, isn't he?
I'd say he probably is. There wouldn't be too many in Alice.
No, he was. I think it was Bruce Barnett. If you follow, or if you don't follow Bruce Barnett on your social media, you should. Bruce posted up something about Francois, the change from recent, like from when he did his beginning knife courses with Bruce up to where he's out now, and there's absolutely profound change in what he's up to, which is pretty awesome.
So
Brad
guys,
Stone
while
says
we were
he's in
talking about the
camp.
forging it, just want to show the just want to show like the geometry. The reason that you're forging is you're establishing the geometry. This requires, I don't know if you guys can tell, but there's already bevel there. All I have to do is grind tiny bit and I'm done. I don't even have to grind most of the blade unless I wanted to. But that's the reason with forging. It's not just because it's cooler. It just makes the geometry pretty much ready and it requires minimal grinding.
Yes.
Yeah, nice. So Mel, how have you been with, like, have you just been with the COVID stuff and lack of knife shows? Has that given you a chance to sort of just sit back and go, you beauty, and focus on the property, or has it sent you in a bit of a spin, mate?
Life as per normal, probably a bit easy because I haven't been making knives flat out for knife shows. But I've still had a few orders. I've still got a few orders to fill. Just
Do you reckon it's going to be? Do you reckon it's going to be a tough transition getting back into it for knife shows?
No, not for me. I don't do every knife show. That'd be a fairly big ask. But no, I'd just be waiting for them to be able to occur again. It'd be good.
Yeah, it's good to get out and get into the city and watch the world go by. Yeah.
And then catch up with other knife makers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm about to say, get into the city, catch up with other knife makers, drink excessively, and go home and dry out.
Sounds like a plan.
Brad Stone says, am I at a dry camp? Because I'm not drinking tonight, but I'll be drinking all afternoon, Brad, so it's all good. Yeah, I just didn't want to carry everything up. Didn't want to carry up all my alcohol from down at the camp. So yeah, I'm going to walk back in the dark too, and I've got to get back there. So I'm going to have my head sort of in the right space.
I can drive, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. No, we'll be right.
Hey Mel, could you remotely start those flashing blue and red lights when Corin's about halfway across the paddock?
Bad trick. No, let's not do that. Trick. I wondered what I see it. It freaks me out every couple of minutes. It's like they're here, Mel. Quick, we've got to run. Mel, we've got a question from Darren Melford. Oh, geez. And it says, Mel, your first experience with Damascus, and who was your major influences? We've spoken about the major influences there, but you might want to shout out some more. But did you ever work with Damascus? Did you ever make any Damascus? Have you ever made knives from Damascus? If so, yeah.
I actually stopped at Thomas Gurner's place on a trip back from Perth, as we were driving back, we went down to his place and I spent a day with him making some Damascus and tapping out a couple of blades, which was good. Cole Barn from Queensland brought his forge down many years ago and we did a bit of forging. Yeah, I have had a bit of a slight go at it. It wasn't enough to make me give up stock removal and go into Damascus making at this point, but hopefully I've still got a few years left in me. And have a crack at that and learn something new.
Yeah.
Well, you're only a young bloke,
It is,
mate.
and a new expense.
The thing is, like, the industry's full of people who have been making for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. There's not many blokes around that have been making as long as you have. So, yeah, I put it up on Facebook. We're interviewing an Aussie knife legend, and that's how I feel about it because, like, you've been around. Okay, there's plenty that have been around longer, but you're now one of the I guess we'd call them veterans of the industry.
One of them grumpy old people that they talk about being in the guild. I never thought of myself as grumpy.
You're probably not the grumpiest one I ever met. You're probably not the grumpiest one I ever met. That's for sure.
We'll walk past Mal's
No, I wouldn't
table
describe
soon, and he'll
myself
just
as a
look up and
legend
say,
Nah.
We'll be at a show soon, and we'll walk past Mal's table, and he'll just look up and fuck off. That's only what
in the face if I did that.
That's only what he would do to the makers, not to the customers, mind you. Well, okay, that's what he'll do just to me.
Yeah. So, what's your biggest tip?
I'll take that.
Oh, sorry. What's your biggest tip? What's your biggest tip for the new maker starting out, keen to get into knife making now? What's your biggest tip? What do you reckon?
If you're going to buy a piece of equipment, think about what you really will use the most, and that'll give you the best benefit, I would think. I would think probably a grinder, a good grinder. You can always get things heat treated. You can always buy material in, but a good grinder would be probably essential.
That's a fair tip too, because a lot of people go into it. We see so many people buying forges, and it's like it's really not the first thing I'd be buying.
No,
I want to get into knife making.
You still got to grind it.
You still got to get a grinder. So yeah. Mal says, Jamie says Mal's always happy to see sausage. That's Sausage Man saying hello.
Yeah, always.
And Matt Snape says you're
not alone.
Yeah, an elder statesman of the industry. There you go.
Jeez, I wouldn't say that
I
either.
wouldn't say that. Larrikin. Elder Larrikin. It's funny, as good times. We went out to lunch today at the local, which they opened up, I think, almost specially for us. It kind of felt that way.
Yeah, there wasn't many people there.
No, but it was good, and we had a good feed, and it's a nice place, nice part of the world.
It is. Been good having you down, Carl.
It's been nice being here, Mel, to be honest. Real nice. So we'll probably we've been going for an hour and a half, Kev, and we'll probably push on. We've got to get up early and stuff to do.
Yeah, mate. No, that's all right. Yep.
Is there anything else we want to cover before we wrap up?
No, look, I think from my point of view, I think we're pretty good, mate. Like I said, we've played tag on this slight delay in the audio and stuff, probably enough. Thanks everyone that's persevered with us and listened to it. It's we're trying to bring you not just those makers that are in the local, like, main city centres and all that sort of stuff. We're trying to bring you a little bit of an intro to people who have been around, like Mal, been around for a long time. And sometimes a bit of that sort of difficulty is these guys live out on rural, remote areas, and things like internet access that we all take for granted to play our phone games. For Mal and them are like satellite broadband and all the rest of it. So Mal, mate, we thank you so much for giving us the time. We thank you for keeping Corin away from all the rest of us for the last week, letting him catch some shitty fish, fucking cod prick. Yeah, and I'm sure the listeners have gained a little bit of an insight into your knife making style and all the rest of it. The fact that we tell them listeners that you're a good bloke, take that with a grain of salt. And it's really nice that you and Corin decided to dress like twins tonight. For those people watching,
he did that the last minute. That was unprompted. That was unprompted. He ran out and got changed. He was wearing his wife. He was wearing his singlet. And he stuck out and put a t-shirt on, so he looked better. And that was that's got nothing to do with it, but it's still a good shirt. He's got on the back. You probably got to pull your headphones out just a minute, but it says stock removal knife maker, master of the rotary forge. So there you go. That's a good one. That one.
Now it's a funny thing because when Matt Snape rocked up to my house today, we were both wearing a Gamaco shirt, and in particular the one that said "Keep calm and make a knife." So we were looking like the Bodsy twins too.
It's a popular choice.
It is a good choice.
The other thing is, there's heaps of comments coming in, heaps of people saying thanks there. Somebody said a minute ago something that I was going to make a comment on, which was
not Brad Stone saying,
"Oh yeah,
Timmy,
on,
Jeff, he's not dying."
Timmy, yeah, no, Timmy. I haven't seen Timmy tonight, so I'm not sure if he's around. But so no Timmy time tonight. We'll get over that.
Yeah.
Thanks for entertainment. So anyway, thank you very much. Good to catch up with everyone.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks to Mal for making this possible, and the cuckoo clock in the background. That's awesome.
Yeah, 10 o'clock sign
There
off
we go.
time. Thanks everyone. Thanks Mert. Thanks Corin. Thanks regulars.
See you, Kev. Thanks Mel.
Good to see you all for another Thursday night. See you next week.
Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome, mate.
Take care. Bye.